Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Pop Culture Podcast. It's just the Pop Culture Kid today. Daddy Kuma is not here today. I'm just gonna do some solo podcasts on my own, just to get more episodes out to you guys. But we are back with the Pop Culture Podcast. I'm so happy to be talking to you guys again. I have a new recording booth and a new sound mixing board, so I can I can edit podcasts better. And let's hope this is great. I have a bunch of topics I want to talk about over the next couple of episodes, and I really hope you guys enjoy this. Also, before we start, I just want to say that there will be a new episode out every Friday. I'm going to record a bunch of them in a row, which I'm going to do right now, and I'm going to release a new episode every Friday for probably the next 10 weeks, so you guys should be okay. So, let's start with the topics I have for today's episode. So when this episode is released, it's going to be January 1st of 2021, the start of the brand new year. So today I want to talk about everything that happened with me in 2020. I'm not going to get into the personal issues and everything that happened with other things, but I want to talk about how this pandemic and everything affected me personally, and also what it had, because this is a pop culture podcast and it has to do with pop culture, what it affected in the pop culture industry. And also, since Christmas was just 7 days ago, I also want to talk about some of my favorite Christmas movies and what I did for the holiday season. And I also want to talk about some of my favorite Christmas memories, so you guys aren't going to want to miss this. So, as I said, I do want to talk about real quick how 2020 affected me. And most of you guys are probably going to say, well, you're a teenager, so probably how it affected you is probably how it affected most other teenagers. But to me, I think my story is a little bit different. And I think for a lot of other teenagers, I think stories are really going to vary because different teenagers have different expectations and things like that. And I think they also have different mindsets. So when everything happened in March, so what happened was, for me, this is my story. So in January and February, the year was going off fine. You really didn't have any problems or anything. But I remember in school, I think it was back in January, we used to watch in history class these recap videos of stuff happening around the world, and that was when all the pandemic stuff started to come up. But everybody's just like, yeah, it's not gonna affect us in any way and stuff like that. So we just moved on with our lives. Me personally, since I'm a big movie buff, saw some movies the first half of the year. Birds of Prey, Sonic, and Practical Jokers, the movie. Yeah, I saw that, just so you know. But those are the three movies I think I saw at the beginning of the year. And I also 1917. So I saw four movies at the beginning of this year, before March 13th, the day that everything changed. But my life is going normally. Everything's going fine. Then I remember around March 10th in school, I read an article saying I remember I was really excited to see the movie Quiet Place Part 2, which coming out the next weekend. And I was actually a part of stage crew at my school. And I was disappointed because I had my school play that I was part of stage crew the weekend that movie came out. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to see it, and I really want to see that movie, right away, but I wasn't going to be able to. Then I remember March 10th, I read um, Fast and Furious and A Quiet Place delayed due to the pandemic. And I was like, okay. It felt very random and stuff like that. And then I was like, well, there's probably just going to be a couple delays. Nothing major is going to happen. Then days kept on going and going. There was this whisper apparently things are shutting down. The school's going to be canceled. I was like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It could just be a big, what do they call it? A fad. Everybody builds it up and then it really doesn't happen. Or what they do with the weather. It's all this build up and then nothing happens. That's what I kind of thought was going to happen because nobody knew what was going to happen. And I remember March 13th, actually, me and a friend, Daddy Kuma, actually, were going to go see Bloodshot in theaters, that movie with Vin Diesel. I'm glad I did not see that in the theater because that was terrible. I didn't review it, but me and him watched it during the pandemic at home. That was an interesting movie. But I remember March 13th, I'm on the school bus, we're heading home. Then I get on my Snapchat feed, or Instagram, I think it was on a bunch of feeds, somebody was driving me somewhere after I got home from school. And all these things are coming out saying school's canceled, everything's canceled and everything's going to be for a little bit. And it came so quickly to me at the beginning I was like, wow, like everything was just and it's so much unexpected stuff. But I was thinking it's only going to be for 2 months, and everything's going to go back to normal. They'll find a way to fix it. So I remember driving home, or driving. It was driving somewhere, and they said you're going to do your school online. I was like, actually, everybody was like, "Yay, school online!" Like nobody wants to go to school. Yay, we can just do it all on the computer. I remember like a week into doing that, everybody's like, "Just go back. This stinks." And that's because all of us, all my friends and stuff, were like, "Yay, we get to do school at home. Don't have to go to school. Don't have to deal with anything." They were just like, "Oh, school stinks," because we got so much more work in school at home than we actually did in school. It was so much assigned work. I was thinking this has to end in probably like May or June. That's what I thought. We'd be back in school by September. Everything would go away, and it was just for me seeing how I actually got worse and more things were shutting down. And around like August, and I live in New Jersey, things started opening back up again. And I was like, "Oh, this could finally be it. This could finally be it. We could." And then there was rumors about a vaccine. I was like, "This could work." And then everything just started to go back down again. Things are closing back up again. I'm just like, "Oh, and now we are where we are now. People are still wearing masks and stuff." And I just wanted to talk about this to me because one of the things I would like to do with this podcast is just talk about things I barely get to talk about. I thought this was be an interesting one to do because I think it's very interesting to hear people's stories actually about where they were during this pandemic. Because like in like 10 years, you could replay this to somebody and just hear about like the story of what the person went through and what other people went through. That's why, although I don't like this year, it was not a good year. Do not get me wrong. At least it's a snapshot of something that you'll always remember, because like everybody says, the 2001, the terrible tragedy. If I say it, I think YouTube demonetizes when you say the event. But 2001, very true. You guys know what I'm talking about. And everybody says they knew where they were when that happened. And that's the same thing for this too, because you remember where you were when everything happened. To me, that was March 13th when everything started pouring in, and you had to take in for a second that things were going to drastically change, like I said, with school and everything. And that was the same thing with the event in 2001, because like I said, for some reason, I've heard YouTube flags you if you say what the event was. You guys know what I'm talking about, though. And the tragedy that was, and how everybody, every single year on that day, talks about that. And I think that's going to be the same thing for this. It's very, it was very unexpected. Nobody knew what was going to happen. It was just very, very shocking, and just it was a lot to take in for me and a lot of other people, and a bunch of other stuff that happened this year, which you guys know about. I'm not going to get into a lot of that, but just everything that happened this year was just crazy, and it's really been like unlike any year I've probably ever lived in my past. I've only lived 16 years, but it's just crazy, everything that's happened, and I'm really hoping at some point things will get better, and I'm really hoping that we can. The great thing about, I will say, the great thing about this is that we all can learn from this, because especially for me, something that affected me was I always was never like into like family stuff and doing stuff with family, but when COVID happened, I was like, you wanted to do more because you didn't get to do much before COVID in the year, and you wanted to do more things. Like when COVID hit, you're like, oh, I should have done that thing. I should have done that thing before. So that's how I think it affected a lot of people and made people realize how much being around other people is important. Like especially when everybody's like, oh, well, you can do everything online. When you did everything at home, it's kind of boring because you just stay in the same place. You want to go to other places, and I think that was actually a very good lesson for people to learn, even with everything terrible that's happening. I think that's a very good lesson people can take away from this. It's something that could be passed down in the future, and a lesson that can be passed down, and I think that's very important. So I'm not going to talk about much about the rest of the experience of 2020. I want to talk about some fun stuff next, but I just wanted to get that out of the way. Like I said, I want to use this podcast to talk about just things I want to be able to talk about in separate videos on my channel and stuff like that, and like things I want to talk about that are personal to me, and I think that's very important to get across. And so, you know what? What else do I have planned? Actually, I gotta read this again. Sorry. Um. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is let's go to a positive thing for a minute. So I hope you guys had a great Christmas and a great holiday season in general for anybody on this past month. And Christmas was, like I said, with the pandemic, a lot more boring than I wanted it to be. But it was still a lot of fun. I didn't watch as many Christmas movies as I usually do, or specials, and that was kind of unfortunate. I wish I did more. But this year was still a great Christmas season. I looked at lights and stuff like that. And because this is a pop culture podcast, I do want to talk about some of my favorite Christmas movies. I am a big fan of Christmas movies. I've seen a bunch of them. Actually, I'm going to use my phone for this because I could actually probably list you so let me get my phone. Every single Christmas movie I've seen. So I'm gonna go. I have an app just so you guys know, Letterboxd. They track movies, the progress of movies you've seen. Just turn my radar off. So I'm gonna go look for every Christmas movie I can find that I've seen. Let's see. It might take a little bit. I'm just gonna discuss my favorites. All right. Okay, so I'm scrolling through the list of Christmas movies I have seen. This is from the latest movies that just came out, like the more recent movies, all the way down to the older movies. Christmas Chronicles, that was terrible. That was with Kurt Russell. Was not a fan of that one. I only saw that once. The Grinch, the newer one, that was okay. Not as good as the animated movie, or even the one with Jim Carrey, which wasn't even that great. I'm still looking. I just want to see if I can list as many as I can that I've seen, because I still have a lot on my list that I should watch. I'm looking. It's going down and down and down. Got a couple of Halloween-based movies, but nothing really Christmas. Okay, would Frozen count? I don't think that counts, but some people might. I've seen Frozen. I haven't seen Frozen 2. I'm really trying to find them now on my list. Rise of the Guardians. You guys remember that? That's another one that counts. With Jack Frost, Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny. I think it was the Tooth Fairy and the Sandman. Am I correct? But that was a DreamWorks movie. That was actually an okay movie. I saw that years and years ago. Okay, Home Alone. I think I've probably seen every single Home Alone, so I'll just list those now. Yes, they've made 5 Home Alones, and I've seen all of them. Their first 2 are classics. 3 and 4 and 5 are terrible. Third one's a little bit better than 4 and 5, but those are all terrible. I've seen all of them, even the last 2 straight to DVD movies. Say there's looking at this. I don't know. Okay, I have another one. Arthur Christmas. That was very good. I saw that in theaters. I think when did that come out? 2011. So I've seen that one. That was an underrated one. Uh. That's the. No, I thought. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna count Christmas specials. There's the Madagascar Christmas special. I have that on here that I've seen. I have every movie log that I've seen, even when I was younger. So that's where that one came from. Shrek the Halls, classic. Haven't seen that in years. Okay, here's one. I think I've seen all of them. The Santa Claus 1, the Santa Claus 2, the Santa Claus 3. I think I have the third one logged. I've definitely seen all of them. So those are 3 others I've seen. I'm looking. I am looking. I know this is pretty boring to hear me do this. But I'm trying to see how many I've seen. No, it's kind of boring. Okay, so I already listed Santa Claus. I already listed Home Alone. The live action Grinch. Jim Carrey, that was alright. Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. Okay, I've seen that. I've definitely seen the Twice Upon a Christmas also. I should have that listed. I'll see. Alright, so I've definitely seen those two. Home Alone 3, I already said. Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I haven't seen that movie in probably like 8 years. I should go. It looks. I remember being even younger. It was so stupid. I should rewatch that though. I kind of want to now. Should I now? Probably hate it even more. Santa Claus 1, I already said that. Home Alone 2, I said that. Home Alone, I said that. A Christmas Vacation, I only saw that once, I would say. Don't remember much about it. It's my mom's favorite. Scrooge with Bill Murray, I only saw that once. I think I saw that for the first time last year. Don't remember much about it, though. Christmas Story, of course. Seen that. Frosty the Snowman. Okay, now I'm probably going to get into Christmas specials a little bit. Frosty's Winter Wonderland. Is that the one with... They did a Frosty, am I right, with John Goodman? Yeah, Frosty the Snowman. Grinch, of course. Charlie Brown, of course. Rudolph, of course. And that's it. They had to have done one with... I thought they did a Frosty with John Goodman. Am I correct on that? Frosty Returns. This is the one. Yeah, John Goodman. I've seen this also. I have it logged. Frosty Returns. That was the one. But I've seen those. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I think I said that. Alright. That's all the ones I've seen. Oh, wait a minute. I'm forgetting my favorite Christmas movie. Okay, so I must have missed Elf. Just so you guys know, Elf was my favorite Christmas movie of all time. Love that movie. It's so hysterical. But I thought I didn't even, I'm shocked. I went through all those and I forgot Elf. It's got to be in here somewhere. Elf, yeah. That's a classic. If you guys have never seen that movie, what are you doing? It's hysterical. Yeah, that's about it for those. What else? So, actually, like I said, my favorite Christmas movie is Elf. I think that's an hysterical movie. I think I've watched it once every year. If you've never seen that movie, please watch it. It's so good. So those are all the Christmas movies I've seen. And okay, if I talked about my favorite Christmas memories, now I think this should be way too short of a podcast. So, you know what? I will discuss all the movies I have watched before, since the last episode. I have them all logged. So, last episode of this podcast was the 22nd of August, so we got a lot to go through. Okay, go all the way down. This is what I said, 22nd of August. Shoot. August 26th. Oh, guys, there's a lot to go through. August 12th, so the next one should be... Okay, August 14th. Okay. So, I think back, in August, this is the first one. I saw Beetlejuice for the first time. I had never seen it before. It was okay. I'm not a big fan of it as a lot of other people are, but I enjoyed it. I don't think it's not the greatest movie in the world, but, it was entertaining. I rewatched the Phineas and Ferb, the first movie, because the second one was coming out, and I haven't even seen that. I started it on Disney Plus. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I used to love the original show as a like a 5 or 6 year old. Just watched it all the time, and the movie was great. I watched that movie a bunch when I was younger. So I rewatched the first movie. Still holds up. If you've not seen Phineas and Ferb, the movie Across the Second Dimension, it's a fun movie, even for a TV movie. I would recommend watching that one. Now, the next one, actually, I didn't review on my channel. It was very good, but I don't review documentaries much on my channel. So I didn't review it, but I really wanted to talk about it. It's actually the highest rated movie I have on my channel. I mean, on my list this year of my top movies. Class Action Park, the story about the action park in New Jersey, which funny enough, my dad used to go to. That was a very interesting documentary, to say the least. I had definitely heard of it. He had told me stories, but I had never actually like seen like everything it had, and it was just like shocking. And even though I knew a lot, I actually did know a lot of stuff about it, but the documentary taught me way more than I thought I knew. This whole story about, I think it was these teenagers who worked there who were drunk, I think it was, and just like how insane the workers there were and stuff like that, and the rides and stuff. So that was insane. It was actually a funny documentary for like the first like hour, and I was shocked by that because of all the horrible stuff that happened there. But they actually did make it funny the first hour. But then when they at the last 20 minutes they talked about the death that happened there. I think it was at the very end, there was a death that happened there, and then they got very serious about that, of course. But the first like hour of it, they actually made like funny, and then of course the last 20 minutes they couldn't really. They can't make fun of that. That's just ridiculous. But it was still a very interesting documentary. It was entertaining, but the last 20 minutes, like I said, very depressing and sad about what happened and stuff like that. But very intriguing documentary if you guys want to watch it. It's on HBO Max, so I would highly recommend watching it if you have an HBO Max account, which some of you probably do because of Wonder Woman. So if you still have that account right now, watch that. It's very good. Saw the Terminator for the first time. Never seen it before. You guys probably like, seriously, you love movies and you've never seen the Terminator? I have not. I have not even watched the second one yet, but I did watch the first one. In my review right here on Letterboxd, I said I really enjoyed it. I remember it was really good. I thought some of the effects were a little bit cheap, which makes sense because it was only made for like $6 million. The second one was the one that had all the great effects in it. So, and of course, the famous Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think it. What does he say? One of them he says, it's different. I'll be back." That's what I'm thinking of. Then, the one famous line, I'm trying to remember what it was. He says it bad the first time, then the second time good. He reverses it. I forget what the line is actually, but of course that's a great movie. I wasn't as amazed as a lot of other people are with it. Like everybody says, "Oh, one of the greatest action films of all time." Like I said, I know a lot of people love the second one, so I really want to watch the second one too. I'll watch it at some point. As you probably saw in my reviews and stuff, my YouTube reviews, I saw New Mutants, and that was okay. I actually did not hate it. When I saw the trailers for that movie, of course, it's a movie that never came out for like 2.5 years. Supposed to come out in 2018, got delayed like 20 times, and it finally came out in 2020. Nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be because of all the delays and all the reshoots and all the poor, terrible things I heard online. Thought it was going to be terrible. But actually, not as bad as I thought it would be. Not great, but actually not the worst movie ever. There's really not much to say on it though. I thought it was pretty entertaining. I like some ideas in it, but like it wasn't the greatest movie ever, which is like not really that great of a compliment. But as some of the other superhero movies I saw this year, that's actually not that bad of a compliment, considering the other 3 superhero movies I saw this year. Yeah, I actually saw all 4 superhero movies this year, and one of them was deeply disappointing. But if you saw my review of that movie on my channel not too long ago, you know I thought it was very disappointing. But I'm going to get to that near the very end of what I'm talking about right now. New Mutants, though, not actually that bad, especially considering some of the other comic book movies. So I rewatched some movies. I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. I rewatched Clerks and Mallrats. I had only seen those once before. My favorite movie of his is coming up soon, which I rewatched. But moving on from those, Back to the Future. Actually, if you guys don't know this, my favorite movie of all time. I actually saw it at a drive-in again. I've seen the movie like hundreds and hundreds of times. It's my favorite movie. It's the movie that inspired me to get more into film. It's one of those movies, I think the more and more I watch it, it does not go down in quality ever. The last time I watched it, and I agree with people, there's really no flaws in it. It's such a perfectly constructed movie, but it doesn't feel like some movies. They're perfectly constructed, but like it just feels like very perfect, and it doesn't feel like natural. It still feels very natural, like a natural movie, like some, you know what I mean? But it's still flawless. Like it works so well, and I think that's one of the movies. Why that movie's great. I love Back to the Future. So good. Next one, Kingdom of Heaven. I actually saw this in school. I had to watch this for history. Yeah, history, because it has to do with Jerusalem, and we were learning about the three religions at the time. And I was not a fan of it. It was the 3 hour cut of that movie. The original is like 2 hours 20 minutes. I didn't like it. I'm not a big fan of stuff like that, and it's not. It's just me personally. I just don't like to watch movies about history. There's some I like. Titanic's okay, but that was more fictionalized. I'm just not the biggest fan of like movies that took place during historical events. Not a big fan of stuff like that, but that's just my taste. I think a lot of people like. I think actually the extended cuts praised of that movie. I just wasn't a fan of it. Didn't see. To me, when I watch a movie, I want to connect to characters and stuff like that, and go on a good story. And it had a good story. I just didn't like the characters. I couldn't relate to any of them. But for a lot of other people, they could probably relate to that, and that's cool. That's just my personal opinion. I wasn't a fan of it, but some other people might like it. The Pop Culture Kid movie. So as you guys know, I made my movie. It is released. It is on YouTube. Go check it out. Fun, fun, fun time we had making that. I had so much fun doing that. As I've already announced, the Pop Culture Kid movie 2 is coming next year. I still have some ideas I want to work out for it. I actually haven't started writing the script yet, but I really want to start soon. So I have some ideas. I'm trying to still brainstorm it, but we're going to have a lot of fun doing that. Oh shoot, I just exited out. Okay, so let me go down to where I was. So, Pop Culture Kid movie, you already heard me talk about it like hundreds of times. So there you go. Next movie, rewatched by Kevin Smith. Watched the first Jay and Silent Bob again. That was terrible. Don't need to talk about that. And actually, rewatching that made me want to rewatch my favorite movie of his, Dogma, which you guys probably heard me talk about. Love that movie. I hated it the first time I saw it. Second time I liked it more. I've seen it I think 3 or 4 times now, and I love it more and more every time I watch it. Such an underrated movie. The next one, I've seen like 5 or 6 movies. I literally just watched over my break during this time, during the whole Christmas holiday break. I finally watched the new Mulan. I'd heard terrible things about it. I thought it was going to be terrible. Now, to be fair, the movie might be more terrible if I've never actually seen the original. I know you guys are going to hate me for that. But I never saw the original. I've seen bits and pieces of it. Just not the Disney movie I ever thought I would like. So I think that's why I never really watched it. But, I might like it. Should actually probably watch the original at some point. But actually, the remake, I actually didn't think was half bad. It had problems, yes. I really didn't think the story was that good. Like, it was a very basic movie. But basic doesn't mean terrible. It had a lot of entertaining scenes in it. The story was basic, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world. I actually did not hate the lead actress. Like, a lot of people were hating her in that. I think she was terrible in it. Some of the stuff I've heard, and I'm not going to get into the whole more political stuff. But, I thought it was good. I liked it. Not the greatest movie in the world, but not as terrible as people said it was. I think going in with those low expectations made me like it more. John Wick is the next movie. I had never seen John Wick. I know you guys are gonna hate me for this. I watched it because I saw the Blu-ray box set of all 3 movies at a store, and it was only $20, and they were all on Blu-ray. And a John Wick on Blu-ray usually costs like $20. Probably like third movie definitely costs $20 on Blu-ray. So I was getting that movie for the same price it would usually go for, plus the first movie and the second movie with him. Like I gotta buy that. So I bought that. Finally watched the first movie, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very basic plot. I can't deny that. But it was a really entertaining action movie. It had really good, well shot action. It was actually pretty moving and entertaining. Like, the first 20 minutes are kind of slow. Of course, it builds up the story. Then it just goes and goes and goes after that, and that's what I really enjoyed about it. I will say, when I first heard about the movie, I didn't watch it because I was like, it's about the movie with some guy and his dog. And I was like, what? And then when I watched the movie, I think it made a lot more sense to me why that's what it was about. I really enjoyed it. Shocked I had never seen that before. Controversial opinion on the next movie. I just reviewed it. It's the latest video on my channel before this podcast. Yeah, I hated Wonder Woman 1984. I can't get around that anyway. It was one of the most disappointing movies I've ever seen. It was just so disappointing to me. I watched that and I felt so frustrated after watching it. I'd never feel that with a movie. It had no action. The story was so convoluted, and I don't want to get into any spoilers, but it was just terrible. I'm not spoiling the movie in this podcast. That might be for another day. I was just so disappointed in that movie. Could not do it. It was so boring. That was the most disappointed I'd ever been with a movie this year. And any other year. So disappointed in that. Seriously, though. I can't even talk about it anymore. I'm so disappointed. Alright, next movie. I saw Soul. I didn't review it. I have Disney Plus, so I watched it. Really enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect from it. I saw the trailers. I liked the trailers. I just didn't know what movie I was getting into. The trailers really didn't show a whole lot, and they really don't. I had no idea what the whole subplot of, what the majority of the movie would be, and that really isn't in the trailers much. They kind of hide it. But it was a really good movie. It was actually probably one of the most mature animated movies I've seen. Like, Pixar has to pat themselves on the back for that. It was so different from even Inside Out, which I thought had a great message and was a lot more mature. This was, like, even more. Like, I told my parents, I said, if I saw this at, like, 6 years old, I would never understood the whole point of the movie. Which is why I'm actually glad I saw it as a teenager. I really enjoyed that movie. I might have to review it and give more thoughts, but I don't really want to give more thoughts because, like, the characters and stuff I liked, but it's just not a movie I think I could talk about, like, in depth. Like, Wonder Woman, I had so many problems with it. I could talk about a lot of the stuff I liked and didn't like. I just liked a lot of stuff in this movie, and I really don't know how I would critique it that much. Like, I could say some things, but I just don't think this movie I have a lot of things to say about it, but it was great. The message was great. Loved all that stuff. One of the most mature Pixar movies I've ever seen. Really love that movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Final film. Daddy Kuma begged me to watch this one, so that's why you're going to hear this one here. He's a big Robert Rodriguez fan. Also, by the way, Mandalorian Season 2 is great. Oh my gosh, if you've not seen Mandalorian Season 2, watch it. I didn't like a couple episodes, but most of the episodes were very entertaining this season. The last episode was the best episode in the whole show. Oh, I might have to talk about that in a spoiler video. That was so good. So he actually directed an episode of this season, Robert Rodriguez, but he also directed a movie I never thought I would see in 15 years. I actually grew up with the original Shark Boy and Lava Girl. I used to show it on Disney Channel all the time. And when I saw they were making a sequel, I was like, I never expected that, especially in 2020. Like, yeah, they're making a sequel. I was like, is it coming out in, like, 2022? And they're like, yeah, no, it's actually coming out by the end of this year. It's like, really? So, it's on Netflix. It's called We Can Be Heroes. I thought I was going to hate it. I went with very low expectations. I grew up with the Shark Boy and Lava Girl movie and also the first 3 Spy Kids. The 4th one was terrible. I never really watched that much. I used to watch the first 3 all the time, though, because they used to show them on Disney Channel. I think my cousins used to watch them a lot. So that's how I saw those a lot. So I do have nostalgia for those. I actually did rewatch the first Shark Boy and Lava Girl with Daddy Kuma. We were going to do a, does it hold up or not video. Or, like, just like a 15 years later reaction. Because we watched it intending to do, like, an in-depth 20-minute video. And we never did it. And I started it. I never finished it. You guys want to see that, let me know. I could finish that if you want me to. But We Can Be Heroes, I was going in with such low expectations. Because even though the Shark Boy and Lava Girl, the first one, Spy Kids movies, let's just not lie. They're really not that great. if you watched them when you were younger and you could watch it now, you would see that nostalgic factor. But they're really not good movies. But you can still enjoy them, especially if you grew up with them. So I was going to this movie thinking it was going to be terrible. I actually didn't hate it. I did like that it was kind of a throwback to those films. If I hadn't seen those movies, I would have hated this movie. But as a sequel, or not really, it was only a semi-sequel. Shark Boy and Lava Girl are in it. They're barely in it. Shark Boy doesn't even talk. That was very disappointing. But it was, cute. There was good things in it. I will say, actually, for a kids movie, it had a very good twist. I was not expecting the twist it does, and it was actually very good for a children's film. Very impressed by that. But the movie wasn't great, let's just not lie. I give it 5 out of 10 stars. I mean, shockingly, I liked it more than Wonder Woman 84. In 100 years, I never would have thought I would have ever said Shark Boy and Lava Girl 2 was better than Wonder Woman 84, but the year is 2020, and there's crazy things that happened this year, and anything can happen. So yeah, that's what happened. It was alright. Didn't hate it. Had that nostalgic factor to it. It was okay. So, I'm going to talk about some Christmas memories, but I just want to do one more thing. I am going to go to lists. So I do want to just say real quick my ranking of the films I saw this year. I saw 11 movies that came out this year. I just want to rank them real quick. I'll tell them to you from number 11 to number 1. Let's go. Number 11, Bloodshot. Terrible. I've already said that. I hated that movie. It was... Don't get me... I actually had a lot of fun watching it. If you watch that movie with, like, a friend, and you're, like, both, like, movie nerds, and you can tell, like, what a good movie is from a bad movie, you'll laugh. It is so bad. But it's so stupidly dumb that it was fun. Watch that movie. It's bad, even though I have it so low, but I kind of want to put it higher, because it was actually very entertaining with how bad it was, but critically I have to put that lowest. That was terrible. Wonder Woman 84. I can't believe I have that at number 10. Like, that low. I still can't accept that. Like, I still want to figure out why that was so boring. I can't. Okay. I'm moving on. I could rant about the movie for hours. 9, Scoob was not good either. I gave that like 2 out of 5 stars. But you know what? It was better than Wonder Woman 84. At least it had a plot. Not a good plot, but at least it had a plot that actually kind of made sense. So, that's a number 9. Number 8, Birds of Prey. I hated that also. So it's already pretty bad with my low 4 movies, and number 8 was not a good movie. But that's 2020 for you. I did not like that. I know a lot of people did. I just thought it was too all over the place. It was very much a ripoff of the Deadpool formula and how it was set up. I was not a fan of that one. Number 7, We Can Be Heroes. I know. That was a mediocre movie. But that is 2020 for you, like I said. 6, New Mutants. Never thought that would be ever high on a best of year list. But like I said, 2020. 5, Mulan. Like I said, very basic movie. Like I said, though, 2020. Number 4, The Impractical Jokers movie. Not really a good movie, but I love the show. It's really funny. So that's why I had to give that one a little bit of a higher rating, because I thought it's funny. It's like the show. If you just watch the show. Like, the movie's not really going to do much for you. It's just the same type of thing. But a lot of the jokes in the movie movie had such a funny joke near the beginning of it. I was like laughing. I saw it in the theater. I was laughing so hard. That was so good, that one joke. But the rest of the movie, but it was still entertaining nonetheless. 3, it's pretty sad actually going back and looking at these, that I have a video game movie higher than every single comic book movie that came out this year. That is, like I said for the 100th time, that's the year 2020 for you. Sonic the Hedgehog. Never would have thought, after all the terrible looks he had in that first trailer, the movie getting delayed, the movie being redone, and then people were like, the movie still might not be good though. I still have that higher than any superhero movie that came out this year. I really enjoyed it. Was it good? It was, critically, it's actually not that bad. It's a very entertaining movie, which I will say. It is a kid's movie, it's very basic, but I had a lot of fun with it. It was entertaining, it was charming, it was cute. I will say, Didn't hate it. I actually really enjoyed it for what it was. Okay, so it's the first two movies I have, like, just to give you perspective of how much higher the first two are than the previous ones. I have a Sonic at a 6 out of 10. Next movie, I have at a 9 out of 10. Class Action Park. So, my number one, I do have at a lower grade, but because number two is because Class Action Park is a documentary, and the next one is more of a movie, I did put the next one higher. But Class Action Park, I have a number two. Still, like, it's a fascinating documentary. If you want to watch that, I would recommend it. Number one, like I said, Soul. I had that a 8 out of 10. And Class Action Park at 9 out of 10. I do think Soul is a movie you should watch more. I think it's a very important film, especially for this year. I think it's a very important movie for people to see, and I think it had a very good message. So, Soul is number one. And you know what? We only had like 20 minutes left. I usually want my podcast to be about an hour. So, I am going to let me move back a little bit. So, the last thing I want to talk about is my Christmas memories from the past. There's a couple funny stories I want to tell you. So, I'm going to go from the first year of Christmas I can remember. It's probably like 4 years old, all the way to this year. 4 years old, what I remember, just a funny story. So my parents always say I don't remember stuff, but I remember I got 4 years old. My mother said I got a Diego bike when I was like 2 years old, and she was like, "How do you like the store Diego?" She's like, "How do you remember that? I got that when you were like 2," and I was like, "I got it when I was 4." That's a fact. I don't know why she says I got it when I was whatever, but that was just a funny, not really funny, it's just a quick note before I get into when I was 6 years old. So I think this was 2010, because I got a DS, 2010, because I don't know if you guys remember the Yogi Bear movie. I mean, I probably good that they probably don't, but when I was younger, I used to like a lot of movies like that, and I didn't know any better. So, 6 years old, the movie came out in 2010, so yeah, I was 6. I got a DS, and most of the stuff I'm telling you right now, I remember this from Christmas home videos. I opened my DS on Christmas. My parents were all happy for me to open it and stuff. I opened it, and I have no idea why I did this. And I'm admitting this right now. This is embarrassing. It is funny, but it's like, oh. So I opened my DS. This is 100% true. I'm not making this up to you. I remember I opened my DS. I started crying. And when watching this video when I was like, I think I watched this last year, 15, I'm like, why am I crying? And then I say, I asked for a laptop. And I'm like, I don't remember asking for a laptop. And I'm crying. And like, back then it was probably sad for me, but watching it now, I'm like laughing so hard. Because I'm like, I don't, like literally, there's some dumb memories. I'm watching these again. There's some stupid stuff, and that's what I want to tell some of these guys to you. Some of these to you guys. I'm like crying because I said I asked for a laptop. I had asked for a DS, and then I'm like watching it, and I'm like I didn't even ask for a laptop. I'm like, why would I ask for a laptop? 6 years old. Like, what would I know what to do on a laptop? And then my parents are like, you didn't ask for a laptop in the video. I'm like, thank you. I now realized that. And that was just like, I don't know what happened there. But my favorite moment, I think it was the same year. My grandparents came over. I opened their presents. And just to tell you how weird I was, I opened this wrapping paper, I remember, and I scream. And I say, I got my own paper. And I'm like, what? Like, watching this again, I'm like so happy and cheering and screaming because I got a notepad of paper. I'm not even making this up. Like, I wouldn't even want to make this up. It's so stupid. But, like, trust me, watching these home videos, I was cracking up. And I'm trying to think of another memory. So, my favorite Christmas memories. The best gift that I ever got was PS4 was a big one. Oh, funny story too. I got the PS4 in around 2015 for Christmas. So happy. Plugged it in, set it up, but I couldn't connect it to the Wi-Fi. Because when I connected it to the Wi-Fi, it was connected to the Wi-Fi, but I don't know why. It wouldn't connect to the PlayStation store or my PlayStation account. And I had a PS3 for like a couple of years, so I had a PlayStation account already, so I used that account. I'm like, why is this not signing in? It would sign in, but then it would say PlayStation failed, not working. And I looked it up. I think it had something to do with my area. It wasn't working, but I'm like, why is this not working? So the funny thing is, I got it for Christmas. I had it for like 8 months. And my birthday was in August of next year, so about 8 months. And my parents got me an Xbox because they felt bad. Xbox One, because they felt bad. They're like, why does it not work online? And they felt really bad because I had a lot of friends who I wanted to play with. But to be fair, a lot of my friends also had Xboxes, so they were like, you know what? We feel bad. We'll get you an Xbox for your birthday. So I got an Xbox for my birthday, Xbox One. And like I said, never would even ask for that. But like I said, it was just so weird that it didn't work. I never understood why I would never connect to the PlayStation Store. Got the Xbox in August of 2016. Then, in December, I would still play on my PS4, but like only the games that wouldn't play online, but the only other games I just got on Xbox. One day on PS4, I randomly turned it on in like December. It's like the day before Christmas, I think Christmas Eve of December. Of course, didn't ask for any PlayStation games for Christmas. I asked for all Xbox. I opened the I turned on the PS4, and it starts working. Like out of nowhere, it literally just started working again. My PlayStation account started connecting. That was baffling to me. And I was like, seriously, I've had this Xbox for even worse. I only had the Xbox for like 3 months, 4 months. And I'm like, seriously, now you decide to work on me? So basically, 2 years later, I just sold my Xbox. I wasn't going to use it for anything. And then I just played on PS4. And as you guys might have heard, I do have a PS5. I know, jealous. I don't play on it as much right now because of school and stuff, but I didn't even play on it much during my break, which I wish I did more. But that's the story behind that. Trying to think of another memory. This year wasn't as exciting. I got it, stuff I wanted, like stuff that I would use. Not like fun stuff, but I mean like sound equipment, sound mixing board, which is more stuff for like that I want to do productively. Well, on my free time, but it's still kind of productive. You're still doing stuff and talking. Not a lot of like video games. I got a couple games for the PS5 and stuff, but what else did I get? I got a PS5 controller. Oh, I got an Apple Watch. That was the biggest thing I got, probably. I got some just like smaller stuff. I got actually got a couple of comic books signed by some people, so that was pretty cool. Like this year for Christmas, I actually didn't ask for as much, so that might have been another factor of why I didn't get as much. But like actually a lot of the stuff, my parents were actually pretty creative getting some of the stuff because I didn't ask for much. I got a lot of stuff that I didn't know I was getting, so that was actually kind of cool. Because there was some stuff I opened that was a surprise. I got a Baby Yoda, like a Baby Yoda toy that was kind of cool, and stuff like that. So I will say, although Christmas wasn't as great as other years this year, it was still a lot of fun. I can't really think right off the top of my head the biggest things I've gotten for Christmas. I have a couple arcade cabinets, one of those arcade 1-ups and stuff in my basement I've gotten for Christmas a couple of years. Those are cool. I love those. I use those and stuff like that. Really not much else besides that for Christmas. And we really only have 10 minutes left before I want to stop. But I just want to tell you guys right now, actually, before we leave, I think we could stop at around 50 minutes. But I have a lot of different ideas for different podcasts I want to do the next couple of weeks. I'm going to record a bunch of these in a row. One of them I want to do, I'm really excited to talk about with you guys. is about the making of the Pop Culture Kid movie. I want to go through my whole experience with it from the beginning when I first came up with the idea to the end when the movie was finally released, the whole production, my experience with it. I'm excited to tell you guys about that. Of course, Pop Culture Kid Movie 2 I'm working on that right now. And there's going to be a lot more podcasts. Expect them every week, every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to upload them to Spotify, a lot of other podcasting sites I'm set up on, and YouTube. I will also release them on. Just so you guys know, though, the podcast with Daddy Kuma won't be ending. I'm still going to have him on. And I'm just going to do this for when I just want to talk about stuff and also just to get a podcast out every week. Because we haven't done one in a while and I felt bad. And it's also good for me to talk about stuff I just want to talk about that we don't have to just both talk about. So I can just talk about some stuff I want to talk about. But don't worry, we're still going to do group podcasts, guest podcast. I'm hoping to do that. Like I said, I actually in my YouTube video about Wonder Woman, I'm building a podcasting studio, and I hope that's going to be really cool. I have a lot. I'm using a mic right now, but I also have a lot of other mics we're going to use, and I'm really excited to be doing this stuff. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys next week. There's going to be a new episode every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to record a couple of them tonight and a couple of them every other day so I can get them out and just have them recorded. So I hope to see you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.